Imagine standing in the desert 4,500 years ago, staring up at a mountain of stone. No cranes, no engines, no electricity, just sand, sun, and thousands of human hands. And yet, somehow, this impossible structure rises higher than any building on Earth at the time. How did they do it? How did ancient humans move millions of massive stones without modern machines? This is the story of the pyramids and the incredible human effort behind them. Let's go back to ancient Egypt, along the banks of the Nile River. Around 2600 BCE, Egypt was ruled by a pharaoh named Khufu. Khufu wanted a monument that would last forever, a tomb worthy of a god-king. This monument would become the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest pyramid ever built. It would stand taller than any human structure for the next 3,800 years. But to understand how it was built, we must first understand the people who built it. For a long time, myths claimed that slaves built the pyramids, whipped and forced into labor. But archaeological evidence tells a very different story, a far more human one. Skeletons found near the pyramids show signs of skilled, well-fed workers, not starving slaves. These workers had access to medical care and were buried with respect and dignity. Historians now believe the pyramids were built mostly by paid laborers and skilled craftsmen. Many were farmers, working during the months when the Nile flooded their fields. When farming was impossible, the Nile's floodwaters gave them a new purpose entirely. Thousands of workers moved to Giza, forming a massive, organized workforce. This wasn't slavery. This was one of the earliest large-scale employment systems in history. Workers were organized into teams, each team given a name and a specific task. Some teams cut stone, some teams transported stone, some teams stacked stone precisely into place. This organization was essential because the scale of this project was almost unimaginable. The Great Pyramid contains over 2 million stone blocks, each incredibly heavy. Most blocks weighed between 2 and 15 tons, roughly the weight of a large truck. Some blocks, used deep inside the structure, weighed as much as 80 tons. So the first great mystery begins here. How did they cut stones this large? Egyptians used copper tools, along with harder stones like dolerite, to chip away limestone. For softer limestone, workers used copper chisels and wooden mallets to carve blocks free. For harder granite, they used a clever method involving dolerite pounding stones. Workers would repeatedly pound the granite surface, slowly wearing it down into shape. It was slow, exhausting work, but it was effective and endlessly repeated by thousands of hands. Once a stone block was cut, an even bigger challenge began. How do you move it? Some blocks weighed more than several elephants combined, with no wheels, no engines, no motors. The answer lies in a simple, brilliant technique: wooden sleds and wet sand. Workers placed heavy stones onto large wooden sleds, built to slide across the ground. Egyptian art discovered in ancient tombs shows workers pouring water directly onto sand. This wasn't wasted effort. Wet sand actually reduces friction, making sleds easier to pull. Modern experiments have confirmed this discovery, proving the physics behind this ancient technique. Wet sand can reduce the force needed to pull a heavy sled by nearly half. With this simple trick, teams of men could drag enormous stones across the desert. But cutting and dragging stones was only part of this enormous engineering puzzle. The real challenge was lifting these heavy blocks higher and higher as the pyramid grew. There were no elevators, no cranes, no machines capable of lifting tons of stone. So how did ancient Egyptians lift 2 million blocks, some nearly to the very top? The most widely accepted theory involves massive ramps built from mud, stone, and rubble. These ramps allowed workers to drag stones upward, using the same wet sand technique. As the pyramid grew taller, the ramps grew longer, wrapping around the structure itself. Some historians believe a single straight ramp was used, stretching far into the desert. Others believe a spiral ramp wrapped around the pyramid, rising slowly with each level. Recent archaeological discoveries near Giza have revealed ramps with unusual grooves and steps. These grooves may have helped workers gain traction while pulling extremely heavy loads uphill. This discovery strongly supports the ramp theory, showing physical evidence of ancient engineering. Whatever method was used, one thing remains absolutely certain: it required immense human coordination. Thousands of workers pulling in unison, guided by supervisors shouting rhythmic commands. Ropes made from plant fibers, strong enough to hold enormous weight, were used constantly. Wooden levers helped adjust and shift stones into their exact final position. Every single block had to align almost perfectly, or the entire structure could collapse. This brings us to another incredible mystery. How were the pyramids built with such precision? The base of the Great Pyramid is level to within just a few centimeters. Its four sides align almost perfectly, with true north, south, east, and west. How did they achieve this level of accuracy without modern tools or satellites? Egyptians used simple but clever tools, like wooden squares and plumb bobs, made from string and stone. They likely used the stars to determine true north, observing the sky at night. By tracking specific stars as they rose and set, they could calculate direction precisely. This method, called stellar alignment, required patience, careful observation, and generations of accumulated knowledge. Egyptian architects and scribes recorded this knowledge, passing it down through structured training. Pyramid building wasn't guesswork. It was based on decades of accumulated engineering experience. Earlier pyramids, built before Khufu's reign, sometimes collapsed or were poorly constructed. Egyptians learned from these failures, adjusting their designs with each new project. The Great Pyramid represents the peak of this knowledge, refined over many earlier generations. Now let's talk about something equally important. How did they feed and house this workforce? Archaeologists discovered an entire city near the pyramids, built specifically to support the workers. This city contained bakeries, breweries, and large kitchens capable of feeding thousands daily. Evidence shows workers ate meat regularly, including beef, which was considered valuable food. This contradicts the old myth of suffering slaves and reveals organized, well-managed labor instead. Bread and beer were produced in massive quantities, providing energy for exhausting physical work. Doctors were present at these worker camps, treating injuries and illnesses as they occurred. Broken bones were set and healed, showing workers received real medical attention when injured. This level of organization required a powerful, centralized government, capable of enormous logistical planning. Egypt's government collected grain as taxes, storing it to feed workers throughout the year. Officials tracked labor schedules, food supplies, and construction progress with remarkable administrative precision. In many ways, building a pyramid was as much about management as it was about muscle. It required farmers, bakers, doctors, engineers, and thousands of laborers working together in harmony. So when we ask how the pyramids were built, the answer isn't a single secret. It wasn't aliens, it wasn't magic, it wasn't instead something far more impressive: human teamwork. It was human ingenuity, patience, and cooperation, repeated for roughly 20 years of continuous work. Historians estimate that around 20,000 workers were involved during peak construction periods, working in rotating shifts, season after season, year after year, until the pyramid was complete. Every stone tells a story of effort, and every angle reflects careful, intentional design. The Great Pyramid wasn't built quickly. It was built through relentless, coordinated human determination. Today, we stand in awe of these structures, questioning how ancient humans achieved something so incredible. But the true answer isn't mysterious. It's something even more remarkable than mystery itself. Ordinary people, guided by knowledge, organization, and sheer determination, achieved something extraordinary together. No modern machines, no advanced technology, just human hands, human minds, and unstoppable human will. The pyramids remind us of what people can build when they work together with purpose. They stood for thousands of years, and they still stand today, silent and powerful, a reminder that human potential, even in ancient times, had no real limit. If you found this story fascinating, imagine what other ancient mysteries are waiting to be understood. Follow this channel, because the story of ancient humans is far from over.